Previously on Devotions by Dave. Okay, so last time I was sharing, I was telling you about one of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament. His name is Elijah. You can find his story in 1 Kings 17, and we're going to go into 18 today. But Elijah was developing his faith as God had called him into ministry. And his faith was developing at first because these ravens were taking and bringing him food, bringing him meat and bread every day, and he was trusting God for his provision. But once he learned that, then God used him to help others develop their faith. And so there was this widow and her son, and God fed them their last meal, and then their next meal, and then their next meal, on and on. So that's where we left off. Let's go to chapter 18 and pick up the story from there. It says, after a long time, so this goes on for a long time, in the third year, the word of the Lord came to Elijah. Go and present yourself to Ahab, he's the evil king, Elijah's arch enemy, and I will send rain on the land. Okay, so let me just jump ahead. Elijah does this. He obeys. He's learned to trust God. Why not obey? And so we're going to jump up to verse 18. You have abandoned, this is Elijah to Ahab, abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. The Baals are like fake gods. And now, he says, summon the people from all over Israel and meet me on Mount Carmel and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, and we will see whose God is the real God. So Elijah is going to be in this contest, and I'm just going to tell you what happens. They go to this mountain. Here's Elijah on one side, and here's 850 evil prophets on the other side. And so Elijah says, let's just see whose God is real. And the one who comes down and consumes with fire this sacrifice, that's the real God. You guys go first. So the 850, they start dancing around and cutting themselves and trying to get their God to show up, and he doesn't. So Elijah mocks a little bit. He says, maybe your God is tired and he's sleeping. Yell a little louder. Ha ha. Maybe your God's in the bathroom, he actually says in that chapter if you want to read it. No, nothing happens. Elijah finally says, all right, it's my turn. Well, then, just to up the ante a little bit, he says, why don't you get some water and pour it all over my sacrifice? So they get these 4 large jars, pour water all over the sacrifice. They do this 3 times, so there's no way fire can show up, right? And then Elijah prays. And then fire consumes the whole sacrifice, and everybody goes, oh my goodness. I'll just read the very end of that. Starting in verse 37, answer me, O Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil, and also licked up the water out of the trench. And when the people saw this, they fell prostrate before the Lord. The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is good. What's God done in your life? Have you seen Him in the past be faithful? If He has been faithful, do you believe that He will be faithful in the future? Elijah went from learning God's faithfulness to trusting God to making some profound prayers and proclamation about who God is. Maybe God wants you to step out, to trust Him, to do something sort of profound and to see if He shows up. If there's something He's guided you to, I kind of think He's going to show up because He's been faithful in the past. He will be faithful in the future. Why don't you trust God today and see where He takes you?